New York is choosing communism, haven't you heard? In the race to govern the most important city of capitalism, the leader is a communist Muslim who hates America. Honestly, it sounds like something out of a science fiction novel. But from my point of view, science fiction writers don't have that much imagination. Who is he, the hero of our time? Where did he come from? What did he do before? Why did a burning desire to steal arise in the citadel of the free market? Well, someone else has it, and I almost don't, but I really want it. Well, there you go. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the wave of envy, of course, that has swept over the city, which actually once began building a new world, our world. But let's start from the beginning. First, where did the funds come from? Because you always have to follow the money. A New York mayoral campaign has always been expensive, and now it's even more so. The main character's last name is Mamdani, and his first name is Zakhran. He was born in Uganda. Well, sort of like Barack Hussein being born in Kenya, but he was later registered as supposedly born in Hawaii. But this one, well, there was no need. It didn't happen, and he wasn't registered. Zakhran Kwame's father, whose name is, well, of course, Mahmoud. Did you realize that he's Mahmoud? At worst, it would have been Muhammad. Same difference. He was a professor. His mother was a film director, by the way, and the family was more than well off. Yes, by the way, the boy was given the second name Kwame in honor of a family friend, the first prime minister of Ghana, Kwame Nkrumah. Oh, so it's just Vilen, meaning Vladimir Ilyich Lenin or Oktyabrina Semyonovna. I had an art teacher like that in one of my early grades, and in the neighboring building there lived Revolutsiya Petrovna. I swear on my mother, I swear, really. Well, naturally, everyone called her Rieva, because who, except for Jewish parents, would name their daughter Revolutsiya? Here's Zakhran. He's sweet, always smiling and charismatic. But where does the money come from? Who votes for him?
Hey, is that you? Mr. Rodriguez let illegal immigrants sign false documents so they could live here illegally and bypass the law.
What seemed strangest to me was that Pedro Rodriguez kept telling me that I didn't live at the address he personally signed a letter for, claiming that I did live there.
I met this man again a year later. Same name, different address, same blue shirt, same tie. I met this man while pretending to be an illegal immigrant. I told him I was new to this country, that I had just arrived a couple of months ago. I wasn't a citizen or registered to vote, but I wanted to vote this year. And sure enough, he starts helping me.
Yes, I am an immigrant. I was sent here to vote and recommended this place for voting information. I was given two options. I'll show you. Excuse me, I don't speak Spanish. I'm just trying. Thank you, sir. What's your name? Pedro Rodriguez? Nice to meet you. When did you register? Excuse me, when did you register to vote? You paid for it. I didn't sign anything. I was just told to come here to vote. You are him. Barracks Rue.
And he tells me to go to the local college around the corner to vote in the mayoral election. It's close by. Yeah, it's across the street.
Across the street, thank you. So I can go there and vote for the mayor.
And I said to him, still pretend to be a legal immigrant. Who should I vote for? He winked, nodded, and said to vote for the person whose name starts with M.
That's three guys. All right, I can't tell you what to choose, but I have, Degat or Sarko.
Now, which mayoral candidate has a name that starts with the letter M? That's Curtis Sliva. No, Andrew Cuomo. No, Zakhran Mamdani. Most likely, the same candidate who supports helping illegal immigrants and provides them with assistance to get around immigration and customs enforcement and, avoid deportation. It's no coincidence that this pastor, exposed last year by James O'Keefe, is now addressing illegal immigrants. Vote in this election and support the mayoral candidate helping illegal immigrants. That's why we visited him. To be continued.
Hello? These two also had questions.
Yes?
You're all thieves, criminals, and liars. Unbelievable.
You put stamps on fake addresses.
That's the guy you met with, right? You had all those fake documents here? Yes, that's me. I'm James O'Keefe.
Taras, okay.
Did you tell him to vote for Mandat? No, you told him to vote for the guy with the letter M. That's what you said.
Vote. Okay, for.
They should support him. How many people, how many judges have an M in theirs?
You just told him to vote even though he's not a legal citizen?
I have control here.
Yes, but you gave advice.
No, that's what's that exactly?
As you told me, stamp and forge it.
No. And what? But you just let him go on, right? What did you say? Yeah, what did he tell you? He said he wasn't registered. I didn't ask who I should vote for mayor. And he said, well, for the mayor, that's it. Sorry, when you registered to vote, you did it. I didn't sign anything. They just told me to come here and vote. I said, yes, I did. Tell me what you said. I said it.
We caught it on camera, just like last year's paperwork scheme.
Do you remember?
All right, do you remember? I steal children. How many people steal? I steal children. We are investigative journalists like me, like I steal children.
Look at why I don't know. Listen, first of all, above all, you are entering here illegally.
How?
I'm entering illegally because the police said it was you.
Do you want me to leave? Yes.
All right, I'll leave. Why are you telling people to vote illegally, sir? Why are you telling people to vote illegally?
I said I'm not registered and have only been here a few months.
I remember you. You're the wife, right? Oh.
Yes, thank you. Yes, you are breaking the law, madam. You are breaking the law.
You're breaking the law and didn't win. Catch more in our special Election Day episode this Tuesday on social media.
What do we see that there are organizations in New York? Not just one, ladies and gentlemen, many, where illegals come. Someone is sending them there, right? Yes, they don't come on their own just like that. They are given the opportunity to go to a certain place. Again, it's arranged voting where their ballots are accepted as legitimate from United States citizens. Well, New York residents, yes, while they are citizens of, I don't know, Mexico, Uruguay, Guatemala, or Nigeria. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. And who pays for it? To those who process them, send them, make all these documents for them that allow them to vote, and in fact what they give to these voters in exchange for their vote. Because, well, people who don't speak well wouldn't, or undocumented immigrants who don't speak English, wouldn't be eager to go and vote for the mayor of New York City unless something attracted them. And now, to do this action correctly,
New York is at a crossroads. There are literally just a few hours left until the polls close, and the race has intensified sharply. According to a new Atlas Intel poll, one of the most accurate polls of 2024, Zoran Mamdani is leading with 41%. Former Governor Andrew Kuma is close behind with 34%, and Republican Kirti Sliva has 24%. But with the latest scandal erupting inside Mamdani's campaign, all bets are now off. The investigative outlet White Collar Fraud has uncovered yet another explosive scandal surrounding Mamdani. Doorbell rings.
Zakhran has an incredible opportunity to become the mayor of New York, but at the same time, an incredible chance to end up in jail. Mayors don't have immunity. Doorbell.
Doorbell rings at one source's door. And of course, who else could it be but the one and only George Soros?
$40 million that came through shell organizations and companies to Mamdani. What's illegal here, you might ask? Well, let's figure it out. Trade unions, for example, gave huge amounts of money to the Democrats, and billionaires gave huge sums. Listen here, to the Democrats. I know you've always been told that ordinary people are for the Democrats, or that Democrats are for ordinary people, and billionaires are for the Republicans, or on the contrary, that Republicans are for billionaires. Oh, they gave a tax break there. That was for the billionaires. That's it. Ah. For some reason, people immediately imagine evil, bloodthirsty hoarders. They're for the Republicans, like hoarders. Let me tell you something that will show that this is also a lie. A check for the hypocrites who call themselves progressives, like Bolsheviks, Leninists. Let's imagine, well, an island, right? Why an island? Because it's always easier to think about a limited piece of territory than about an entire country. So here's an island, so to speak, an island of freedom and a free market. There are 5 companies there that make shoes, right? They sew them. One big company has 50% of the island's market, and there are 4 small ones. But these little ones, they're always coming up with something. New styles, new materials, unusual designs. Amazing. A big company loses part of its earnings and constantly has to put in a lot of effort just to stay afloat, just to hold on to its share of the market. And the government in a free market country, on the island of the free market, can't interfere in anything because it's the island of the free market. Now the same island, but with a socialist in charge. Well, socialism is always interfering in people's lives, supposedly to improve the living conditions of the poor, the unfortunate, so to speak, and those who really need help. But they interfere so often that this help turns into its direct opposite. So, on the island, there is also a position of Minister of the Socialist Government for improving the lives of the island's population. So, a certain messenger from a big company comes to him. And brings in his beak what the minister really wants there. One really wants money, another wants some shares of something, maybe a position for his daughter in some company, maybe a book contract for his wife with a $47 million advance for her memoirs, like Michelle Obama got. And suddenly on the island, orders are issued that for the well-being of the citizens, all shoes, and that's 1,024 professionals, must meet certain requirements as if they all spoke with one voice. And so 1,021 and 4/10 scientists have signed claiming that only the feet must be cared for to prevent fatigue, illness, and mental strain, ensuring well-being. But what's amazing is that only one company meets these conditions. That is, it's their shoes, and all the others go bankrupt. Who is the billionaire, the owner of a big company, interested in? In the capitalist who protects the freedom of the market and competition, or in the socialist? How will this billionaire try to push someone into becoming a minister, mayor, or president? Who will they choose? Someone who will protect the free market and competition, or someone who will protect socialism? And Mandarin isn't even a socialist, even though he calls himself socialist. This one, as he says, not socialist. He says he's a democratic socialist. That's right. He's clearly a communist by his words. You can't use that label, since Americans won't elect a communist, but they will elect a democratic socialist with a fascist or communist agenda. Well, he's the same as Bernie Sanders, Ocasio-Cortez, or let's say Primorsky, taking the opposite of Trump, who, like you and me, is for the free market. So it's bad with Trump because it's almost impossible to bribe him. At least, well, it's very difficult. I think it's impossible, but maybe there's something like that in this world. But let's get back to Soros's illegal or criminal activities in the United States. You can't give more than a certain amount to a candidate. If you want to donate, please donate. If you have more money, give it to 10 candidates, but you can't give more than a certain amount. But there's a loophole. It's called a super political action committee, which means political action committee. Well, a committee for political actions. Yeah, so to speak, 2 actions. So that you can, without giving money directly to the candidate, still influence public opinion. But there are also legal restrictions for super PACs. These super PACs can only accept contributions, so you can only make contributions if you are a United States citizen. And I think it's also possible if you have a green card. Maybe. But the main thing is that this political action committee is required to operate completely separately from the election campaign it supports. There can be one or multiple PACs. I organized one, someone else organized another. They can't have any interactions with each other or with the candidate. They can't coordinate anything. And PACs are required to publicly, I think monthly, publish their reports. If it turns out that there is a connection between the Super Political Action Committee and the candidate, it can lead to a criminal investigation. And here the most important thing is to have evidence. As we hear from Stana Mamdani, 10 people have already come forward claiming that there were relationships with super PACs. I think there were several of them. They violated United States election laws.
So, the key point here is that coordinated political actions that present themselves as mass movements completely independent from each other are a violation of federal tax law. According to the report, the coordination methods involved in the alleged money laundering resemble those typically found in sophisticated criminal organizations involving multiple legitimate-looking structures that conceal the true flow and purpose of funds. The most incriminating evidence comes from the organization's own admissions. In a memorandum from the Party of Working Families dated November 2022, the coordination of independent expenditures is openly acknowledged. We are talking about political activity that by law must be independent and cannot be coordinated.
Various organizations claim that they were completely independent, that they did not interact with each other in any way, and that they didn't even know about each other's existence. It seemed like they were all using the same office, and not only were they coordinating, but they were actually being managed from a single center.
Now, what's so instructive here is that Mamdani's company positioned itself as a completely grassroots movement. He boasted of having thousands of volunteers who knocked on over 430,000 doors, but the new report says these were not organic volunteers. These were more than 1,000 bought and paid operatives, funded by a coordinated network connected to Soros.
Mamdani mentions 70,000 volunteers who are constantly knocking on doors and persuading people. It turned out there weren't 70,000 of them, but 1,000, and every single one of them was paid with Soros's money.
And as if things couldn't get any worse. To add insult to injury, and you won't like this, this concerns the reported $52 million in government grants that actually subsidize the infrastructure of these organizations. In other words, again, as we've seen with United States Agency for International Development, Soros shows himself as a genius in using our taxes for subsidies, subsidizing his organizations, which means that you and I have actually financed this systematic coordination that allows election manipulation. Now, of course, the Open Society Foundations deny these accusations, claiming that the reports are misleading and the figures used are inaccurate. They claim that the grants were issued years before the mayoral race began. But this investigation documents that all these supposedly independent organizations have common leaders, and they have integrated staffing arrangements. They literally share the same office space. They share the same space.
What I'm telling you is that there are a lot of supposedly independent organizations that exist on money stolen from us and given to them by Biden, Obama, and their people. I don't know. Now it's our money and Soros's money. And Soros gets his money in the following way. He gives $100 million to some election campaign, and then, after that person gets elected, they give him some concession where he makes $3 billion. That's it. This money, both of them, is actually our money that puts in the mayor's chair of New York a communist, a Muslim, an anti-Semite, and, well, someone who hates America and everything American. It's just a miracle. And what about the New Yorkers themselves who are being force-fed this filth? What about them? How do they react?
Right now, New York is truly at a crossroads. According to recent polls, more than 25% of New Yorkers, which is potentially almost 1 million people, are thinking about leaving New York. If Mamdani wins, this could cause the biggest population exodus in the city's modern history. And this is all part of this dramatic shift to the far left that we're seeing among the Democratic leadership. So organizations connected to Soros and their hundreds of millions in dark money have actually infiltrated the Democratic Party at the highest level. And they're forcing the party to double down on its most radical, woke, extreme wing. And this has the effect of disenfranchising a large part of the Democratic Party's own base, especially the working class, which has already largely shifted to Trump's side and the Make America Great Again movement since 2016. But now we're seeing a similar exodus even among the professional class. Those who can take advantage of their mobility and who can afford to leave the city or even the state. And that's exactly the picture we've been seeing for the past 4 or 5 years.
That's what we're talking about. If you have a business in New York and it's focused on the local market, on local consumers, a grocery store, a restaurant, shoe repair, car repair, you can't escape. And so-called professionals have the opportunity to move to another state and work there, or from there, maybe even just to another city. 2 kilometers from the New York City line, they have the means to buy another house or rent an apartment. They are the ones who will run, and they are the ones who pay taxes in New York. And those who let small businesses fix their cars, remodel their apartments, sell them food, provide services there, and everything else, they are the ones who keep the local economy afloat. If they run away, and some of them definitely will, then, gentlemen, tough times will come to New York.
Blue states are losing residents, while at the same time they are moving en masse to the red states. They are flocking to the red states. Or more and more often, as we see with Arizona, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania, purple states are turning red. And what this population shift does is that it actually contributes to Democrats becoming more extreme. So they get into this vicious cycle, this dying vicious cycle, which is what we see with dying parties, and that's what's happening with the Democrats. We consistently make this argument on this channel and in several videos. They're losing voters left and right. They're going through a voter registration crisis where in all 30 states that track voter registration trends by party, not all of them do this. They show your registration data, but not your party affiliation. But in all the states, all 30 states that track voter registration by party, in every one of them, the Democrats are losing voters. In every one of them, the Republicans are gaining voters. So they're literally losing voters left and right. It's a dying party, and dying parties have a certain pattern. When they find themselves in their death throes, they inevitably double down on their most extreme wing.
When a political movement, in this case the Democratic Party of the United States, is in a state close to collapse, or, well, at least rapidly declining, we don't know if it will make it there or not. Maybe it will regroup there. Nobody knows. Yes, they switch to extremist actions. It's like a wounded animal that's been cornered.
So the more the party loses members, the more it relies on its extreme wing. But the more extreme the party becomes, the more it doubles down on the very politicians who cause voters to reject it in the first place. The further to the left the Democrats turn, the more they implement policies that make their states completely unaffordable. 8 out of 10 states with the highest housing costs, 8 out of 10 states with the highest housing costs are solidly blue states.
I'll add to that. Out of the 10 cities with the highest rates of murders, robberies, assaults, and rapes, not a single one is run by Republicans. Here's a list of cities with Democratic leadership that have more crimes per capita than anywhere else in America. That's Memphis, that's St. Louis, Detroit, Baltimore, Oakland, Cleveland, Philadelphia, and of course, Washington. It was worse before Trump. Now it's much better. They're in blue cities. They're blue because that's the color of the Democratic Party. The highest taxes, that means the highest numbers, prices, and the highest crime rates. Well, just wonderful. That's why as soon as people have a choice, they run.
Their high taxes, income taxes, property taxes, their crumbling cities, all of this contributes to the mass exodus of what we call leftist refugees. So their policies create terrible conditions. These terrible conditions drive families away, which in turn forces the Democrats to rely even more on their more radical base, which implements disastrous policies that cause the leftist refugees to leave, which makes the Democrats rely even more on their radical base. So it goes in circles. This is the vicious cycle they're stuck in. And Soros-funded Mamdani is the latest manifestation of this downward spiraling movement of the Democrats. And this is an absolutely key point for me. This is what we need to keep in mind as we approach the elections on Tuesday. Everyone in the blue states, by the way, everyone in the blue states, and the one exception is Pennsylvania, where people are voting for 3 judges either to extend their term for 10 years or to vote against them.
He's talking about a number of elections that are happening right now in Virginia, New York, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey. And all of these are blue so-called strongholds. Yes, with a large Democratic majority. But this year, in the gubernatorial races, let's say, in the blue states, the Republicans are relatively not far behind. And maybe, unlikely in my view, but maybe, they could beat their Democratic opponents, Mamdani. It's not the first time they've been the subject of investigations into election-related fraud. Something interesting was found a week ago.
Why should someone who was born abroad and doesn't live in this country care about who the mayor of New York is? Well, think about it. Because it's not just about money, it's about intention. What's the reason? What's so special about Zakhran Mamdani that an actor of foreign origin, and I'm not going to say which country they're from, but that an actor of foreign origin would look at him and say, that's our guy. We need him at the head of the greatest wealth, the richest and most powerful city on the planet. We need this communist at the beacon of American capitalism. What foreign actor would be looking for that? And now, yes, he was handed over to the Department of Justice for criminal charges to be filed. And they are justified, they are warranted, because we need to know. It's not just about the money, we need to know the reason. What's the reason, Mamdani, that someone in another country gave you money to shoot? We're the mayor of the most powerful American city. What's in it for them?
Following accusations that Hamas broke the ceasefire, Israeli strikes on Gaza killed dozens. Israeli officials say Hamas fired at their forces in southern Gaza. Israel now says that they are resuming the ceasefire. Hamas denies responsibility for the attack and claims that they are still committed to the ceasefire. And the front-runner in the race for New York City Mayor, Zakhran Mamdani, is reportedly now facing 2 Justice Department inquiries over alleged foreign donations to the campaign. He is accused of taking almost $13,000 from at least 170 foreign donors. The Coolidge and Reagan Foundation now claims he is violating the Federal Election Campaign Act and the state's election code.
Referring a criminal case against Donnie's mom, we have 2 of these cases pending. One is being referred to Assistant Attorney General Pam Bondi at the United States Department of Justice. The Coolidge-Reagan Foundation submitted this criminal case to the Department of Justice or federal authorities. In addition, the Coolidge Foundation again sent a letter to Alvin Bragg in New York regarding Zakhran Mamdani, stating that this guy received illegal foreign money and that a thorough investigation is necessary. So let's figure this out. Here's info from Fox News. They say that a week before Election Day, the Coolidge-Reagan Campaign Finance Watchdog Group filed 2 criminal cases against Zakhran Mamdani, claiming that he received illegal donations from foreign sponsors. But Mamdani's company says no, all of this has already been resolved and I'm not a criminal. An analysis of financial reports conducted earlier this month showed that his company accepted 13,000 donations from at least 170 sponsors outside the United States. This raises questions, since only citizens or permanent residents can donate to political campaigns. These are not isolated cases or clerical errors. Someone told Fox News that foreign money is persistently entering the mayoral race, clearly violating federal law and campaign finance rules.
When I arrived or moved, I didn't stop at the stop sign, and a police officer gave me a ticket. In response to my, "Oh, it's my first time," he reasonably remarked, "You've probably broken the law 100 times, but this time you got caught. Consider that you're paying $1 for each violation." The fine was around $100. And also with Mamdani, he was caught with 13,000 from non-United States citizens, which means there were probably 513, maybe 1,013,000 who weren't caught.
The company was warned for months about accepting illegal foreign contributions, but took no meaningful action. Now we respectfully urge you to investigate and hold Mamdani accountable for his apparent acceptance of illegal foreign monetary contributions to his company. Foreign financial support for Mamdani, a self-proclaimed socialist, he's a communist, is especially concerning given his public support. Both Hamas and the radical Imam Surawaja, an unconvicted accomplice of al-Qaeda terrorists in the 1993 World Trade Center attack,
Mamdani Zakhran Kavame Muhammadovich is for Hamas, an Antisemite, a friend of the Imam who glorified 9/11, the perfect candidate for mayor of New York. Perfect. He broke our laws a little bit. But Obama, both Clintons, Biden with his whole family, as well as their lackeys, their cronies, their henchmen, and their flunkies, also broke our laws, robbed us, and thought we were fools. Us, you and me. And when the fools, that's us, threw them out of power, they started to hate us and dream of taking power again. And now they're trying to do it by promising the masses communism. Communism, by promising the Lord. This needs to be conveyed to friends, children, and acquaintances, otherwise we'll end up with the United Socialist States of America. Goodbye until we meet again.